Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you very much for joining as always, and I'd like to seek your good wishes, your blessings, and the blessings of Radha Krishna and Krishna Balaram, Gaunitai, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, so that we can continue with the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto. So 56th chapter we did yesterday, the Shyamantaka jewel, and how much chaos it caused in Dwarka to Lord Krishna. So we're going to continue with that pastime in chapter 57. So where we left it in chapter 56 was when Krishna was offered the Shyamantak jewel by Satyajit with his daughter Satyabhama, third wife of Krishna. But he said to Satyajit, sorry, please, you just keep it with you. You can just give darshan whenever we want. You can enjoy the benefits. Of course, in this material world, material benefits are temporary, and you can never enjoy them because they will be gone one day, or we will be gone, one of the two. So chapter 57, so this is a really interesting verse of text number 12 and 13. Nam Ishwarayo Kuyam Helanam Rama Krishnayo Konu Shemaya Kalpate Tayor Vrijinam Acharam Kamsa Saho Nugo Apito Yad Dvesa Tyajita Shriya Chara Sandar Saptadasa Sam Yugad Vir Rathogataha. Kritvarma said, I dare not offend the Supreme Lords Krishna and Balaram. Indeed, how can one who troubles them expect any good fortune? Kamsa and his followers and all of his followers lost both their wealth and their lives because of enmity towards them. And after battling them 17 times, Jarasandha was left even without even a chariot. So what's leading to this? This chapter is called Satyajit murdered, the jewel returned. This chapter describes how Lord Krishna, after the murder of Satyajit, killed Danva, and had accrued bring the Shyamantak jewel back to Dwarka. So Satyajit had in possession the Shyamantak jewel. So what happened? Lord Krishna heard the Pandavas had supposedly been burned to death in the palace of Lak. So he went to Hastinapur with Lord Balaram to fulfill the family obligations expected of him. Even though being omniscient, he knew the report was false. So this is where the Lord, he adheres to social customs. Even though he's the Supreme Lord, he doesn't have to adhere to anything. But he had heard about the Pandavas. This was when Duryodhan plotted to kill them in the house of Lak. Duryodhan being very envious and led by his Mamashri, Sakuni, they had plotted to kill these devotees of the Lord, the Pandavas. But by the mercy of Vidur, the Pandavas were saved because Vidur had exposed the plot and they found a way out from the fire that burnt in that house of Lak. And they kept their identities secret, so everybody thought they died. And of course, Krishna knew they hadn't died, but still they went to Hastinapur to check out the situation. The two lords met with Bhishma, Kripa, Vidur, Gandhari, and Dronacharya, showing sorrow equally to theirs. So this is the Lord. He reciprocates. Whether he's with us physically or without us, or not with us. He reciprocates. He always reciprocates according to how we connect with him. The more we connect with him, especially when he's not with us in separation, the more he becomes closer to us. So this is why the Acharyas recommend we should try to remember the Lord 24/7 at every moment, at any time, every time. Very important. Of course, it's very difficult because Maya is so strong, but we can make the effort. Then the Lord will fulfill our desire. But with Krishna out of Dwaka, Akrur and Kritvarma, due to envy, as Satyabhama was to be married by Satyajit to Krishna, so they were envious. Satyabhama was very beautiful. They were also envious because Satyajit had the jewel, and this is little bewildering because Akrur had so much connection with the Supreme Lord. He took Lord Krishna from Vrindavan to Mathura, and Lord Krishna came to his home. And in Dwaka, there was much connection between Akrur and Krishna. But yet, see the impact of wealth and beauty, material beauty. It can still divert devotees' attention from the Supreme Lord. This is quite bewildering, even though he's had personal association with the Supreme Lord, yet still inflicted by Maya. So we should always be very careful.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Naniben.
Yes. When I was reading that, I got confused about this. Akrur's changed behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he actually was on Krishna's side and could not understand. And thanks for explaining now.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's okay. But it just shows you, Naniben, we have to be so careful because at any moment things can just change. You know, we might think, yes, you know, I'm fixed in my Krishna consciousness, but actually it can change at any moment. So this is the impact Maya can have. It's very powerful. I mean, this is an example. I think Akrur is an eternal associate of the Lord. But it just shows the power of Maya. Anyway, Akrur and Kritvarma, they incited Satyadhanva to murder Satyajit. Can you imagine? And steal the Shyamantak jewel. Bewildered by their words, the sinful Satyadhanva murdered King Satyajit in his sleep, stole the jewel, the gem. Queen Satyabhama, who was the daughter of King Satyajit, she was overcome with grief at the death of her father. And she rushed to Hastinapur to report the sorrowful news to Krishna. So Satyabhama, of course, distraught. Together with Lord Balaram, Krishna then returned to Dwaka to kill Satyadhanva and retrieve the jewel. Satyadhanva went to Akrur and Kritvarma to beg for help. You incited me, now help me, protect me from Krishna. Of course, they refused. And that's one of the verses that we read, 12:13. They refused to help him. And Kritvarma basically said those words about how Krishna and Balaram were offended by Kamsa. Look what happened to him. And with Jarasandha, he was not even left with the chariot 17 times. I'm not messing about with Krishna Balaram. But it's ironic that they would incite Satyadhanva to kill. Anyway. So they refused to help. He left the jewel with Akrur and he fled for his life on a horse. Now Krishna and Balaram, they of course omniscient, they know everything. They pursued him to the outskirts of Mithila. And Lord Krishna beheaded him with a sharp-edged disc. However, they didn't find the Shyamantak jewel on him. So there was a little disappointment. What happened to the jewel? Now, interesting here, when Balaram told him that Satyadhana must have left in someone's care, Baladev also further suggested Krishna to go back to Dwarka to find the jewel, but he didn't want to go back. He wanted, because they were near Mathila, and he wanted to take the opportunity to visit the king of Videha. And I think I read this Janak Raj, so I was quite surprised that Janak Raj was still ruling Videha. But anyway, maybe I'm a bit wrong there. Thus Lord Balaram traveled to Mithila. The king of Mithila immediately rose from his seat when he saw Lord Balaram approaching. With great love, the king honored the supremely worshipable Lord by offering him elaborate worship, as stipulated by scriptural injunctions. Balaram remained there for a few years. This is amazing, few years, during which he taught Duryodhan the art of fighting with a club. So many interesting things going on here. Why would Balaram teach Duryodhan the art of fighting? Duryodhan was on the wrong side of divinity. He had bad qualities, yet Balaram was assisting Duryodhan. So this is part of Krishna Leela, in order to make it a little bit more interesting. Contradictions are put forward and in sort of encouraged, and they enhance the flavor that Krishna tastes when he engages in these relationships. So although Duryodhan was didn't have good qualities, had bad qualities, and there's no particular reason why Balaram should encourage him, yet Balaram did, and he trained him in the art of fighting with a club. And then later on we saw how at the end of the battle of Hastinapur, when Bhim had smashed the thighs of Duryodhan, at that time Balaram came and he threatened Bhim, you have gone against the rules. You've hit an opponent below the thigh, below the waist, and I will kill you, because Duryodhan was my favorite student, and look at him now. And at that time, Krishna stepped up and said, no, Balaram, where were you when Duryodhan was insulting the Pandavas? Where were you when the fighting was continuing, when the fighting was happening? Where were you when all the vows were taken to take revenge on the sons of Dhritarashtra? You were on a pilgrimage. Now it's too late. You can't come and influence a war at the end. So this increased the challenge that Krishna faced, and Krishna loves challenges. So Duryodhan was a favorite student of Balaram, and Krishna had to persuade Balaram, step out of the way. It's too late now to come and fight, to come and influence how the war will be decided. So,
Prabhuji?
Yes.
I'm a bit confused about where the Balaram visited Duryodhan. Did he go to Hastinapur?
No, he went to Mithila.
So
and
Balaram was there. Sorry, Duryodhan was in Mithila?
No, Duryodhan came to Mithila knowing that Balaram was there.
Okay.
Yeah. And Duryodhan learned the art.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. So we can carry on. Lord Krishna, on the other hand, he returned to Dwarka, and he had the funeral rites performed for Satyajit, his father-in-law, and that must have been pretty tough on Satyabhama. But of course, Satyabhama had Krishna to look after her. So then Akrura and Kritvarma heard how Satyadharma had been dealt with. by Krishna. They ran, they fled, because they had influenced Satyadhanva to kill Satyajit. In Akru's absence, soon many kinds of disturbances, mental, physical, and so on, began to afflict Dwarka, because Akru had the Jew, and he left with the Jew. So things started happening. The citizens concluded that the cause of these troubles must be Akru's exile. The city elders explained, once there was a drought in Benares, and the king of the region gave his daughter in marriage to Akru's father, who was visiting Benares at that time. As a result of this gift, the drought ended. The elders, thinking Akru had the same power as his father, declared that Akru should be brought back. Hearing these words from the elders, Lord Janardhan Krishna, though aware that the absence of Akru was not the only cause of the evil omens, had him summoned back to Dwarka. Interesting. After properly honoring him with worship and greeting him with sweet words, Krishna told him to see the sweetness of Krishna. He considered Akru as his uncle. So he still treated him, even though he knew everything that had happened, he treated him with great respect. I know Satyadhanva left the Jew in your care. Since Satyajit has no sons, his daughter's offspring are the just claimants to whatever property he has left behind. So Krishna is testing Akru here. Since Satyajit had no son, oh, sorry, I already said this. Yeah, his daughter's sons should receive his inheritance. They should pay for memorial offering of water and pindan, clear their grandfather's outstanding debts, and keep the remainder of the inheritance for themselves. Nonetheless, Krishna is saying, it would be best for you to keep the troublesome jewel in your care. Just let me show it once to my relatives. Akrur, feeling ashamed, presented Krishna with the jewel, which shone as brightly as the sun, after the Lord had shown it to his family members, thus dispelling the false accusations against him. He returned it to Akrur. So that's the end of the pastime. This narration, rich with descriptions of the prowess of the Lord, removes sinful reactions and bestows all auspiciousness. Anyone who recites, hears, or remembers it will drive away his own infamy and sins and attain peace. So that's the end of chapter 57. Any questions, any comments? Interesting chapter. 2 chapters showing the futility of material wealth, how it can really influence our behavior, even we may be devotees. So the mood should always be that, yes, whatever I have, it's for the service of the Lord. And whatever, I mean, at the moment, I have to admit, we're in the middle of raising funds for so many different projects. And there's, we're trying to find avenues to, like generate income. And I think we have to be very careful that we make sure that the focus is always going to be on the service to the Lord and his devotees. If we lose that focus, then Maya can very easily trap us, and we'll be in the wrong direction. So this is a really, really good reminder of that. Okay, anybody, any questions, any comments? Okay, Madhusan Prabhu, would you like to give us some nectar of instructions?
Haribol, Hare Krishna. Yeah, this chapter is quite interesting in a way, because it kind of involves a bit of conspiracy and murder and conniving, and all because of that jewel as well. And how it disturbs the mind and creates a bit of a havoc, even including murder. I mean, it's, but then Krishna knows, it's a material thing, and then it's going to cause disturbance. And then Krishna lets it play out. He's not interfering with any of that. He's just letting it flow, and he goes to Hastinapur. He hears of Pandavas. He knew that they're safe actually, but he still has to go and pretend, oh wow, they're really dead, and they're not really, but then he knows the truth. But still comes back. Then he has to do the funeral rites of his father-in-law, and then Satya, of all the thing, he had the diamond, and then the jewel, and still, it caused envy and all that. And then there was a plot, Akrura of all people. You think, why Akrura? But then Krishna, lets him play his part in the Leela, I suppose, but hard to understand. But then partly was Akrura involved and being associated with Kansa a little bit, I don't know, But anyway, like you said, you selected the verse as well, which stood out for me in this chapter.
Right.
You selected the word about Kritavarma.
Yeah.
He had the sense of not offending both Krishna and Balaram. At least he realized the outcome of Kans and Jarasan. So like you said, I dare not offend the Lord, Supreme Lord Krishna and Balaram. Indeed, how can one who troubles them expect any good fortune? So at least he realizes, don't trouble Krishna and Balaram. You'll be in trouble, and Kans and all his followers lost both their wealth and their lives because of the enmity towards them. And after battling 17 times, Jarasan also lost everything, even, left without a chariot. So we see the outcome, but at least he realizes. But then he's still involved in this plot against having to do something about the jewel, and then having to, but he doesn't want to kill himself. He gets that the guy to go and do it. Anyway, that's so. But in this purport, I noticed that sometimes Balaram plays quite a bit of a part in this. He goes and trains Duryodhana, and also he is involved in supporting Krishna and fight against all that. So he sometimes in the purport and also in the verses is frequently reference to two lords, Krishna and Rama. Actually, this doesn't compromise the firm principle of monotheism. So it doesn't mean that Krishna and Balaram are two, although they're on an equal level. Krishna's expansion is Sankarshan, Aniruddha, and so we've seen the expansions, but they are as on the same level as Krishna in their potency, I suppose. But still, it doesn't mean that there are polytheism. Like polytheism is many gods. It still makes Krishna still Krishna. So it doesn't compromise the principle of monotheism, which is expressed in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The purport actually further explains that we have this statement in the Brahma Samhita, which says, Advaitam Achyutam Anadir Ananta Rupam. The one Supreme Lord is infallible and beginningless, and he expands himself into innumerable manifest forms. Out of regard for the spirit of the Lord's pastimes, in which he expands himself and appears as his own elder brother, Balaram. The Bhagavatam here refers to two lords, but the bottom line is that there is one supreme Godhead, one absolute truth, who appears in his original form as Krishna. So Krishna is still Krishna. It says Krishna's to Bhagwan Swayam, and he's the fountainhead of all the expansions. So Krishna is still originally Krishna, although Balaram is there. So we have to still understand that this is monotheism. There's one supreme Lord. Not that it's many gods. So again, it confirms from yesterday also, or the day before that. It declares a position of all the demigods, also the position of all these different expansions of Krishna and Vishnu and Lord Shiva and all that. They have their own unique positions. They have the potencies, but Krishna is still Krishna.
Thank you. And
Right.
thank you really for sharing this Advaitam Achyutam Nadinananta Rupam. I'd forgotten, I had lost the focus a little bit. That's a really nice line which we can use, especially in the schools. That there's one Lord, but he expands himself to innumerable manifest forms. Thank you for that. Good.
Okay, yeah. Well, this stood out for me for this
Yeah,
while I
brilliant.
was reading. So,
Yeah,
but
brilliant.
that was one of the main points. But there's so many other
Yeah,
complications within this. So,
yeah.
okay, Haribo.
That's a good one. Thank you. All right. Any other questions? Any other comments? Otherwise, we can shift over to the Nishinga Kavach. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, chapter